So hi everybody. Today our topic is going to come out of Chapter 3, Section 4, and it starts on page 92 in your books. It's called Chromosomes and Inheritance. And you'll notice at the top here it says 3.4.1. There are two goals, but this video is only going to cover the first goal of Chapter 3, Section 4. By the time this lesson is over, I will be able to 1. Describe the role that chromosomes and genes play in inheritance. Your teacher will tell you on what page to write this in your notes, but go ahead and get this goal down. So let's start off with this picture here. Here we have a picture of a body. It's an organism, right? It's a human. And this picture shows us that this human's body is made up of cells. And this circle here in the center represents the nucleus of the cell, and we see these X's in the center here. Those represent the chromosomes, and chromosomes are typically drawn as X's, and you'll be seeing why that's the case. But there's a bunch of chromosomes inside the cell. Inside of humans, we have 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes inside. And then chromosomes are made up of genes. And so that's what this arrow shows. And of course, this is then a blown up picture of a gene. So we're going to be learning all about these things right here. So let's start with a couple of facts. First of all, each organism is made up of cells. It doesn't matter if it's a plant, an animal, as long as it's living, it's made up of cells. The body cell of a grasshopper contains 24 chromosomes. So let's take a time out here. The body of a grasshopper is also made up of cells. Those are called body cells. Every one of those cells has a nucleus, as we just saw in the picture. Inside of the nuclei of each one of those cells, there are 24 chromosomes, 12 pairs. Okay? The egg of a grasshopper contains 12 chromosomes. So while we just said that the body cell of the grasshopper contains 24 chromosomes, that's true of every single cell that makes up that body, except for the sex cells. And the sex cells are the egg and the sperm. The egg of a grasshopper, that cell, contains 12 chromosomes. And the sperm of a grasshopper, that cell, also contains chromosomes. So go ahead and get that written down. So let's talk about Walter Sutton for a second. He's a pretty famous scientist from the 1900s. And he followed Mendel a number of years later. And he said that he believed that chromosomes were the key to learning how offspring have traits similar to those of their parents. Remember, Mendel is the one that said, yep, parents or offspring are getting the traits of their parents. But nobody knew how. Remember, Mendel didn't even know the word genes. He called them factors. But Walter Sutton came along and said he believes that inside the cells are chromosomes, and that's what the genes are on. And if we can understand how chromosomes move from parent to offspring, that's the key to finding out why the traits of offspring are really similar to those of their parents. This is what he did. So he studied grasshoppers, and that was the reason I was giving you some facts about grasshoppers a couple of slides ago. As it turns out, grasshoppers' bodies are made up of cells, and in each of those cells is a nucleus, and in the nucleus are 24 chromosomes. That's what this represents here. And here's kind of a picture of those chromosomes, and we're going to be looking at more pictures of chromosomes, so you'll see why this is such a classic picture of chromosomes. Then when you look inside the sperm of a grasshopper, and count, they have 12 chromosomes inside of them. Well, if you look inside the egg of a grasshopper, that also has 12. You starting to get the picture here? What's 12 plus 12? Then during fertilization, and look how happy these sperm and egg are. During fertilization, the sperm brings its 12 chromosomes to the 12 chromosomes of the egg. 12 plus 12 is 24, and this is the beginning of the makings of an organism. Okay? And so then this, through a number of processes that we're actually going to be studying in fourth quarter, leads into the growth and development of a grasshopper. And so that's how we get more grasshoppers. So this would be the story for any organism. So Walter Sutton came up with something called the chromosome theory of inheritance, and notice that that's red. So that means that you're going to need to highlight that in your journals. Genes, the chromosome theory of inheritance says that genes pass from parents to their offspring on chromosomes. So chromosomes are made up of genes, and these are those little X's that we looked at that are found inside the nuclei of cells. So every human body cell contains 23 pairs of chromosomes for a total of 46. Here's a kind of an artsy picture of a chromosome. Go ahead and get this copied down. The whole thing is a chromosome, as you can see here. The centromere, and go ahead and label this. This is the whole. This centromere is responsible for holding something called two chromatids together. Well, what are the chromatids? This left side is a chromatid, and the right side is a chromatid, and they're held together by this object called a centromere. And then genes are segments of DNA that codes for the trait, and we know that. That's in our BK, our background knowledge, right? And so this would be a gene, and this would be a gene. So one chromosome would come from mom, or a chromatid, and one chromatid would come from dad, and all the genes from mom would be here, and all the genes from dad would be here. And so this purple right here would be an allele. This would be like capital letter C, and this would be little letter c, or maybe there's two capital C's, or maybe there's two little c's here. But that's the gene that's carried on the chromatids. And so each one of these would be filled with a bunch of genes on each one of the chromatids. You put two chromatids together, they are held together by a centromere. The whole thing is called a chromosome. And so here's just another kind of artsy picture of it. This would be a chromatid. This is another chromatid, and there's no chromosome or centromere in here holding them together. But all the way along the chromatid are genes. This would be a gene, and this would be a gene, and this would be a gene. And so all the way down here, and this gene would code for a trait of some sort, and this gene would code for a different trait. And this might be allele A, big A, and this might be little a. Or maybe this is big A and big A. Or maybe they're both little a on both sides. So just an example here of a chromatid, two chromatids, one from mom, one from dad, that would have a whole bunch of genes on it that would code for the same trait. Okay? So that's it for this video. Hopefully you got that down. We're going to make a foldable now. So see you later.